Merry meet, initiates of chaos, consciousness, curiosity, and whatever algorithmic labyrinth has brought you here. It has been a mortal year since I filmed anything for Awakened Power, and in occult times, that's approximately 3 lifetimes, 2 ego deaths, and at least 1 existential crisis. Yes, I'm including the one where you realize that over half of what you've learned about mysticism has been taught by somebody whose entire practice involves lighting a candle, wishing for the best, and wearing a good vibes only t-shirt. Today marks a new era for Awakened Power, and if you want esoteric wisdom without the fluff, mystical discernment, and rituals grounded in real practice and real results, then you've come to the right place. I am not here to entertain you, but I am here to guide you back to your own power and sovereignty. Today you'll walk away with a simple but powerful occult practice to hijack your own circuitry in 30 seconds or less. Let's get into it. Grey magic, energy manipulation, spirit phenomena, somatic awakening symptoms, and real shadow work. This has been my world for nearly 3 decades. What I teach now did not come out of nowhere. It came from lived experience, experimentation, breakthroughs, failures, refining. The last year has pulled me deeper into the occult than I have ever been, documenting seldom shared truths like geomancy and what it's like to work with spirit allies and deities, botanical consciousness, the somatic mechanics of awakenings, building support systems, and crafting and testing some very collectively needed rituals. Notching up the kind of experiences that you cannot fake or shortcut. If you've made it this far, then congratulations. You are not spiritually fragile. You are ready for the real stuff. Not the inspirational nonsense and performance, but the mechanics, the truth, and the architecture behind the scenes. This channel is entering its most powerful era yet. And frankly, so are you. So welcome to the new era of Awakened Power. Still mystical, steeped in esoteric, peppered with dark humor, but hyper-focused on awakenings and achieving tangible, attainable results for everybody without the parroted new age antidotes that cause more than a few eye rolls. As we prepare to enter the seed year of the greatest timeline split of our lifetimes, 2026 marks the next stage of our collective evolutionary journey. And when I stop filtering conversations about the occult and things that most people are too nervous to talk about publicly, I refuse to do it in everyday life. So why should this be any different? And I hope that you will join suit. What I bring back to the table is not your standard love and light or Instagram friendly magic, not feel good astrology memes, not the sort of good vibes only spirituality that we are pretty used to and sick of these days. My passion is in real circuitry, how energy moves, why it misfires, astral dimensions, working with deities and energy forms, the extremely misunderstood world of botanical consciousness. What happens when consciousness expands quicker than the human system is ready for and can hold, and how the quantum field interacts with the human system, and of course, much more. I believe in practical, relevant, and attainable. Gatekeeping has no place in the Awakened Power system, but sustainable preparation and empowerment through knowledge and aligned action does. With some deep dives into realms too mystical and logic-defying for some, but more real than this perceived reality we navigate together. This is the part of the human experience that we can all feel, but not everybody has the language to articulate. And that is where I come in. I've made no secret of the fact that a large focus of mine is helping people to navigate through spiritual awakenings. But let me clear something up first. I think those particular words have been overused, misused, misunderstood, thrown around, and unfortunately become shields of exclusion and status. And that is not on. Awakening is not about vanity metrics or internet popularity. Now, a strictly spiritual teacher or guru, as we tend to think of them these days, is going to trickle feed this information to their students, and in part for good reason. But luckily, I am a witch first and foremost, and we are going to get a lot more hands-on than that. A lot of people think about a spiritual awakening as a glow up, but the truth is, initiation strips you down before it ever builds you back up. Your relationships shift, your body changes, your energy system recalibrates, your nervous system rewires itself. You start seeing through things, people included, that you once thought were solid. Without the right preparation for that can be really destabilizing. This is a very vulnerable time when you're confronted with your shadow, with your wounding, your attachments, your lineage patterns, your chakra seals, that we'll get into, and the parts of you that have never had language before. I'll risk going super cliche here when I say that for many of us, this is a time where it feels like everything is falling apart, when in reality, this is the exact axis where things are actually starting to fall back into alignment and into the path that you were always meant to be on. The road that led you to this point of your journey is not a mistake either. All of your experiences, seemingly good and bad, have been your training ground. But if you don't know what is happening, this can feel like a trial by fire through some hellish landscape. So I'm back, but not in the same way. Awakened Power is entering a new era, but alongside you. And you can expect much more occult, more embodied, more brutally honest, and grounded in results you can sink your teeth into and dispel any myths or residual doubts that you may hold that the mystical realms are just a bit of woo-woo. I want you to be able to reclaim your birthright and rightful place amongst the path traversed by many ancient mystery schools and occult circles. I want you to learn who you were before the world started filling in those blanks for you. I say learn, but really I mean remember. In coming episodes, we are going deep into the mechanics of energy. I'm talking about the things most spiritual content creators will avoid because it's too real, too lived, too technical, and too misunderstood. We're going to talk about how to recognize actual energy mechanics and how awakening does rewire your nervous system. But we're going to back that information up with some hardcore, provable facts. We will look at how to navigate somatic awakening symptoms and understand their different origin sources and the way they manifest in your life. We will look at what witches' familiars really are and examine how your bioelectrical field or aura interacts with the land, people, and timelines. And we'll also spend a lot of time looking at why shadow is not your enemy, it's your initiation point. Let's be honest, most people are waking up not only without a map, but they're not realizing what is even happening. And I say this from experience. That was me and some people very close to me. And that sucks. But also, I am grateful for that experience because now I can not only recognize it in others, but connect with those struggling with the parts of something that is so profound, but we have collectively relegated to TikTok shorts. This new wave of awakened and awakening beings may not have the language, but they feel the currents. They've had the dreams. They're hearing the hum in their own energy field. Their body is manifesting a increasing and seemingly medical array of symptoms, often unexplained, and they're experiencing the kriyas and the waves and the energy surges, but nobody is explaining why these things happen. I'm going to break down the occult mechanics of awakening and explain the things that actually give people discernment, sovereignty, and stability by offering practical exercises, witchy wisdom, supporting literature, and physical occult items too. Because you do not need to chase the mystical, but you do need to understand what's happening within you and around you. But importantly, how to harness it, not watered down, not avoiding looking at the messy parts, just authentic and with the responsibility that comes with. So on that note, let's touch on something you are going to hear a lot more about if you come with me on this journey. Let's finally talk about specialties and passions of mine that fall into the awakening journey that very few talk about, because that is not the aesthetic of polite spirituality. Death is a teacher. Shadow is your bodyguard and a diagnostic system. Darker currents are the gravitational pull of your unconsciousness. And these are the dimensions I have been called back to for another incarnation to correct some of the misconceptions and hold a torch for those who are serious about transmutation and harnessing real occult wisdom. Shadow isn't evil. It is the code that you have not debugged. And if you don't debug it, congratulations, you are the owner of a haunted human operating system. Working with shadow isn't about suffering, as many people do unfortunately fall into the trap of and perpetuate their own suffering and victimhood in a counterproductive feedback loop and call it hard work. They treat shadow work as a permission slip to continue suffering without legitimately ever aiming towards moving through what shadow teaches you, integrating those lessons and finding the healing amongst that. It sounds a little counterintuitive when I break it down like that, doesn't it? Real shadow work and healing is about metabolizing your backlog of physiological and energetic code so that you stop being hijacked by your past. And the darker currents aren't actually about darkness at all. They are about depth. And I want to help you explore yours so that you can move forward. If you have been moving through a spiritual awakening or are manifesting all the symptoms of one trying to happen in the depths of a dark night, where you felt the currents changing in your own field, you are not alone. You are not imagining it. You are not too much. And I am genuinely honored to be with you on this journey. But don't go anywhere yet. To give you something more valuable today, let's talk about a piece of knowledge that most misunderstand, but we all experience. When energy rises or reconfigures in your system, your body responds with what I call waves. And that is an acronym that I will get into another time, but some people know them as kriyas or somatic awakening symptoms. like spontaneous energy movements, twitches, dizziness, sudden surges of heat, sneeze attacks, feeling like your position is being adjusted, breath changes, heart flutters, or noticeable slowing down without a pre-existing medical condition, emotional floods, or feeling the sudden urge to go and lie down. These are things normally associated with awakenings, but not exclusively. Here's the part that no one explains. These instances are not random. They aren't you just being dramatic or dismissing it with anything that you can logically explain away, like not enough water or sleep, or perhaps you just got up too quickly. Ignore the messages and the body will speak louder. And trust me on that one, I had to learn it the hard way, as many of us do. Waves are the way your energy field recalibrates in micro adjustments to a new frequency, a new pattern, a new internal truth. Think of your body as a biological quantum processor. It is the most underrated and misunderstood supercomputer that we know of. When new data like new awareness, new trauma processing, or new shadow integration hits the system, the body initiates a physical correction. And maybe you're not chasing awakenings. Perhaps you have just started dancing or yoga for your health, or that hobby that you have always overwhelmingly been drawn to for some explicable reason, but there's been an element of fear of judgment and you've now given yourself permission to explore the thing. Perhaps you've had an unexplainable sudden call to change up your diet, like dramatically. You've turned vegan, or your body is now rejecting different substances and ingredients that you could have lived on before, or started some really deep dives in therapy and things you haven't touched on just yet. These can all do it. And that is why awakening feels so chaotic. Not because something is wrong, but because your system is trying to reorganize itself on a fast track at every level. Emotionally, energetically, physically, and even neurologically. Most of the wave systems are energy trying to move, trying to shift, but hitting some sort of blockages or damage in your bioelectrical field. What people do not realize is awakening is a mechanical process. Mystical, yes. Profound, absolutely, but also deeply physiological and energetic. This system, this body, is just a piece of hardware, not what you are. And when you understand the mechanics involved, the fear drops. When you do not, you will assume you are losing your mind. When you understand the mechanics, you can ease the process because you have a better understanding of what the system needs, of where the energy is going to fire first, of the potential blockages and issues and firewalls that it is going to hit. And you can be proactive on responding rather than trying to put out the wildfires of ignoring all that process or simply not being informed. There is something else that most people do not talk about, and that is geomancy. It's not just a really cool name, but it's something that we will be spending a lot of time on soon, because regardless of your awareness, your understanding, or your agreement with the fact, different locations do activate different parts of your energetic system. Some locations are naturally and by intent designed to amplify your energy and also to drain it, to siphon it. That's a fun deep dive. Sometimes a place sharpens your intuition. Sometimes it drags your shadow a little closer to the surface. Sometimes it amplifies your psychic field so much that you cannot sleep. That's not imagination. That is resonance. Perhaps you've put it down to simply not being able to sleep because you're not in your own bed, or you're used to a quieter lifestyle and all of a sudden you find yourself in a busy city, an intense soundscape, pollution, an overwhelming amount of people, aggravation you can cut with a knife, sensory overload in every direction. If this area is matched to the frequency of your own energetic baseline and in tune with your vessel, you are going to feel different. Even if you're a little bit uncomfortable at first, or you weren't necessarily looking forward to it, your system is going to recalibrate dramatically faster if the geographic energies are conducive to your own currents. This is the same reason why some people have a intense longing for a destination place that they've never been to. Can't explain it. And when they actually get there, it feels like coming home. It's all just frequency. And what matches your system in one stage of your life may not as your path progresses. But we will get into that. Over the coming episodes, I will introduce my Talking with the Witch series, where I'm going to break down everything I've been building in my absence, like the waves system, and what it means for somatic awakenings, and how you've probably experienced these for most of your adult life. We will look at the complex energy forms system, where we go deep with things like tulpas, familiars, egregores, and consciousness constructs, and how they can be used in your magical workings. In fact, highly recommended. We're going to look at what real shadow work looks like, not the internet version, and what it does to your body, as well as reintroducing ourselves with attachment styles as archetypes and personified spiritual templating, and how each of these evolve, filter the world, and present their own unique opportunities. Together we can explore the energetic recalibration sequence masterclass for your energy field and auric rebalancing. This one is huge. We'll look at the intersection between occult mechanics and quantum physics. I want to get into the real juicy parts of my life as an occultist and look at things like astral travel and deity work. But as a very important prerequisite to that, first we will look at metaphysical discernment with my sacral recalibration micro course that you'll be all over on the next episode. Before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with something that you can start utilizing in your everyday life. Something so quick and simple that it's deceiving in how powerful it is. Real magic is not edgy spirituality. It is the applied science of consciousness interacting with the quantum field. By now, you know that magic is more my flavor than love and light, and we're going to be doing a lot of that. But first, let me clarify that magic is also not the goth cousin of manifestation as it's often treated. And whilst that's not entirely incorrect, it's also very reductionist and cannot be confined quite that easily. And yes, there can be a lot of symbiotic working with energy forms and deities depending on what your particular belief system is. But essentially, the bare bones of all magic is how consciousness interacts with the quantum field, the field of potentials, probabilities, and the feedback loops that you're already part of. Belief is not just belief, it is a frequency. Emotions are a magnetic charge, and focus is the directive force. When these elements combine, the field responds. That's not spirituality. In modern language, that's physics. To me, that's just understanding the mechanics of magic. Everything you think, feel, project, reject, desire, obsess over, fear, or suppress sends an instruction to the field, not necessarily with the right combination of elements, which is why most people's manifestation fails. Their field is being programmed with subconscious patterns, not their conscious Pinterest board. If your thoughts are spells anyway, you might as well learn to cast them intentionally. Reality is malleable when your consciousness is coherent. I'm going to share something that can help you make that alignment a little easier amongst the daily roadblocks that we all encounter, even seasoned witches included. This is something that I call the witch's field flip, and it's an occultist secret for an instant auric reset that doesn't require complex visualizations or hard to acquire ritual tools. This will take 30 seconds or less and require nothing but your sovereign power and growing knowledge of this beautifully programmable quantum reality. So let's begin. But feel free to pause this, grab a pen and paper. It is something that will have a profound impact on reclaiming your power, even for the next mundane thing that you have to do when you're feeling a little bit frazzled. Step 1. Feel the disruption. Where is the tension? Feel it in your body, not necessarily with your language or even noticing the external catalyst, but in your body. Where are you feeling the tension? Where is the energy swirling? Do you feel an energetic spike or static? What is the discomfort? Try and do a quick scan of your body if you have to and just feel where it is. A lot of the time you will likely find this in your stomach. Stomach's not feeling right, or you'll notice the tension in your shoulders, or something feels stuck in the pit of your throat, especially if you're not feeling like you can express yourself freely. Notice. Don't narrate it, just notice it, locate it, witness it, bring it into your awareness. Step 2, exhale sharply. Do not mistake this for a breath outwards. This is a forced exhalation. This is a purge. Sharply exhale through your mouth. If you can picture that exhalation arising from the source of the tension that you've just noticed, you're going to put even more force behind it. Get it out. This isn't just symbolic. This actually clears top-level interference and starts shifting stagnant energy. Once is fine, especially if you're trying to make this really quick and unnoticeable, but I think all things are better in threes. And there is an extra level of metaphysical science behind that we can look at another time. Step 3. Focus on your spine. Imagine flipping a switch at the base of your spine upwards. You do not need to have the visualization to go with it, though that helps. But just intently imagine this. And this works because you are actually sending a counter signal through your central energy channel and consciously taking back power. Step 4, drop your tongue to the floor of your mouth. 90% of the time, when you actually need to do an exercise like this, you will notice that you are holding your tongue firmly against the roof of your mouth. You'll also do this when you are in a flow state or on track with an important task at hand. There is a pressure point in the roof of your mouth that we just instinctively use, but we also use it when we're holding tension. There's some self-soothing mechanics behind that, but the amount of pressure that you're pushing that tongue to the roof of your mouth with will correlate to the tension that you're holding within your system. By making this intentional drop of your tongue to the floor of your mouth, you also instigate a change in the chemicals in your own saliva, and therefore the signals in your information pathways and processing. Step 5. We're almost done. Rotate your aura out 1 degree. This isn't as whimsical as it sounds, and once again, you do not need to visualize it. Just have the intent. Expand outwards 1 degree. Remember, your aura is measurable. It is an electromagnetic field, an energy field around your body. It can be seen on scientific measuring devices. I don't say this without reason. Now, picture that aura, and intently you want to expand that by 1 degree. You want to take up 1 degree more space. It's just a fraction. This fraction distortion patterns instantly, and you've already started priming this with the previous steps. This action completes the field flip. It also ruins the day of any entity, thought form, or intrusive field trying to latch on to your weak spot. You're welcome. Sounds too simplistic, right? I challenge you to try this the next time the world feels like it's getting in just a little bit too much and you're feeling slightly frazzled. Then reach out and let me know how you go with it. But strength test it. This is awakened power. This is the deeper current that has been calling to you. And I'm ready to share everything that I have been building, but I want to hear from you. So tell me, what part of your awakening or energy work do you want to hear about first? Is there an experience that you would like to share so that somebody else knows they're not alone? We are all on this collective evolutionary journey together. For now, blessed be.